Welcome guys to the Tops. That is the show where we bring you our list of the top things. My name is Craig Perales and joining me is Mandrew Montemayor, and on today's episode we're going to be talking about the top video games to play during the Halloween season. So in October, whether it's on Halloween, whether it's getting close to Halloween, these games should get you into the mood whether you're looking to be spooked out or just enjoy something that kind of fits that theme. I do want to give a shout out to Christian Vargas, who we talked about Oktoberfest in our last video. He got us some Santan Brewing Company Oktoberfest, the German style lager. So I thought it kind of fit the bill for the October theme. So we're going to enjoy some of those.
Santan, the best.
The best. So, guys, we're going to go back and forth on the games we think fit the Halloween October build. Andrew, would you like to go first or second?
I wouldn't mind going first. And the first one I'll start with, and again, doesn't necessarily have to be the world's scariest games. These are just games to, get you in that spooky season, get you ready.
Yeah, get you ready for the Halloween season festivities.
So I'm going to start with something that actually is a little lighter. It's actually the only light one on my list, but it's something that I love. It would be Luigi's Mansion, which is originally on the GameCube. You can play it on the Switch now, and then there's also on the 3DS as well. Amazingly fun. Just the premise of the game is Luigi wins a contest, even though he didn't enter a contest. He shows up at this mansion that he's supposed to meet his brother at, only to find that it is full of ghosts. You meet this other doctor named Egad, and he gives you the, I forget the name of the vacuum. It's something he wears on his back, though, and pretty much you're ghost busting your way through the mansion. So it's the game where Luigi saves Mario. Like, that's your mission, that's your quest. Luigi, as scared as he is, as much as the people always make him out to be a coward, is that hero. So even though he doesn't, he is afraid, he's pushing on to save his brother. So I mean, it gives him that hero's quality. Did you ever play it?
No, I've only played the big arcade style one in like the at the arcades. But
oh, I know which one you're talking
about.
I
want to though. We were actually talking about it. I don't know if it was the other day, but I wanted to see if I can get Gino to put it on a SD card for me so I can play it on my Wii. Or number 2 comes out right around the corner, so that would be.
Number 3 is going to be the one that would be coming out.
Number 3 is coming out?
Yeah.
So there's a number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, it looks good. It's definitely, it's glad that like Nintendo has an entry that they can do for something like that fits that season.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I think one of my favorite things is you go around and there's different ghosts and you fight them in different ways. The one that I think stands out to me the most is there's this really fat ghost, and he's just eating the food, and you're supposed to suck up his food, and then I think that's what makes him get up, and then you could start attacking him. I think there's another one downstairs somewhere that's like frozen in ice, and you have to thaw him out first before you can start doing whatever. There's another one who's in like a music room, and you have to get the instruments going in a certain order and stuff. So each ghost kind of has their own different trait in different part of the house, and you unlock different sections of the mansion.
Nice. And
that's where it kind of gives it for the term Metroidvania feel, because you might not be able to do something here and you'll have to get a power and come back later and stuff.
Nice.
So I never felt like it was going on too long. I absolutely love the game.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's the new one's right around the corner. So that is Andrew's 5. My number 5 is, it's an older game, but it's Monster in My Pocket on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people probably watching this have. It's a game I remember playing with my brother. It was created in 1992 by Konami. It's a platform style game, single player or co-op. The premise is that this powerful creature, Warlock, he wants power over all the monsters. So any monster that's going against him, he has a shrinking spell. He's going to shrink them down and lock them away. The spell backfires and it shrinks every monster. So now you're running around. So the 2 characters that you can play is I think they just call him Vampire, but I think he's supposed to be like a Dracula, and the monster, which is kind of like the Frankenstein's monster. So you guys run around like the level will be like you jumping up on a big ass chair or like running across a table and you're passing like a salt shaker. So the reason I liked it is because it's not too hard. So if you were to start playing it, it's pretty easy to beat. I think it takes about maybe 20 to 40 minutes or so. When you attack, you kind of give off this wave, so you kind of got like some range. If you die, unlike like a traditional type of platform game, instead of starting at the beginning of the level, you start from where you left off, and it's not until you lose all your continues that you actually start the level all the way over again. So, and it's one of the first games to introduce the double jump. So since then, almost every game that is platform-esque has a double jump, and this is one of the original games that did it. So I thought it was pretty cool. And one of the other things is there's a little more around it. There was an animated show about it There was comic books that were about it, and they even had trading cards that you could collect.
Oh, that
and
sounds
do shit
pretty
with
cool.
them. So yeah, it was kind of a cool game. Definitely fits the monster style theme for October. So that was my number 5. Andrew,
I always like
your
when you
number
see
4?
media outside of the game.
Oh, yeah,
and, like
loved it.
transcend
Yeah.
something like that. Even with this next one that I'm going to bring up for my number 4 would be Dead Space. More specifically, Dead Space 2. I think 1's a little bit long and there's way too much backtracking. 2 kind of really takes all the best elements from number 1 and it starts off at like a breakneck speed. But there's a movie for Dead Space. There's other
animated movie.
Yeah, an animated movie. There's another one that's even kind of got like 3D bits in it. They're really good, so I recommend definitely going and checking those out. So as far as this one goes, of course, it's a sequel to Dead Space 1, of course, and you start off as Isaac again, but instead of just being trapped on a ship, you're actually starting off in like this city.
Oh, that's cool.
Because people, you were captured at the end of the like in between the first and the second one, and then they're kind of using the stuff that's in your mind to try and replicate this marker to create this device, and so now it's unleashed all these monsters into the city. And so again, it's got the same thing as far as like, you're building your own weapons, you're upgrading them, you're still using your suit. A lot of the necromorphs are kind of the same. There's some newer ones too. There's even some that kind of are almost like velociraptors. And I think there's even an achievement, like if you shoot one of them with a long gun, it's called like Clever Girl. You're supposed to snipe it, but that's the thing, is they're like really quick when they're moving. So it takes a lot of the best parts from the first one, and I think it really kind of took Dead Space to the next level before it was kind of ruined by the third game. And of course, Visceral is no longer a studio. Definitely something I would want to see come back, and I think definitely perfect for the Halloween series because it is a very scary game. Even if you're not just in this claustrophobic ship, they found a way to make it when you're going through all these halls, through this city, through even an open, I think like a gymnasium. The aesthetic is just stellar.
Keep it nice and scary. I remember I started it when I was working at a different place. I never got to finish it. So I do need to go back and play it. But it's on the EA Access, right?
Right. I would definitely recommend that to anybody. And I mean, if you're not feeling the first one, I would recommend just at least jump into the second one and giving that a go, because that might be more your,
Nice. So moving into my number 4. So this game, I probably never would have played it, and so shout out to Gino because he's the one that recommended me to play it. And it's the definition of Halloween. It's Costume Quest 2. Now I never played number 1, but number 2 is a game that you can play on the PC and the computer, 360, the Xbox One, PS3, PS4, and the Wii U. It's currently on the Game Pass, so another shout out to the Game Pass.
I want to say it was the Games with Gold for like a long time ago too, so you might actually already have that if you were downloading games.
Yeah, this game came out on October 7th, 2014. It was developed by Double Fine Productions. Now, it takes place right after the first one, and you essentially you're playing these two siblings, they're twins, Ren and Reynold, and like a rotating friend that you can do. So it's a single player action RPG that lets you kind of go around collecting different costumes and lets you collect these and candy, and you can play. You can like buy cards that you can use to power up in battles and stuff like that. But the story focuses around that you're trying to stop this Dr. Oral White. He's like this dentist that teamed up with this like time wizard, and he's trying to wipe Halloween off the face of existence. So you guys are trying to stop that. You go through time, you meet up with like your friends when they're older, and I don't know, it's a really fun game. The costumes is kind of what stands out for it, because every time you put a new one on, it gives you like a new ability inside the game and outside the game. So like if you're dressed up as like the ghost, you can turn invisible and go through stuff. If you're the clown, I think you can make certain things like laugh or something like that when he honks his horn. So that was a really cool one.
It's on my list of games to play.
I say, yeah, I remember you were starting to play it. I really want to go back and play the first one though, because the second one is a standalone. You don't need to go back and do it. But if you like RPGs, it's not a game to where if you stop playing it, you forget where you're at. You know what I mean? It's a nice pick up and play, and you got to save Halloween, so why not go play it this Halloween?
Yeah, for sure. My next one that I'll go with will actually be another sequel, The Evil Within 2. I would say the first one, as much as I liked it, was a lot slower, kind of slower paced. I didn't kind of care for it as much. It was okay, but the second one was, I got it, didn't think it was going to be great. Absolutely loved it. Had a blast. I think it really refined the gameplay. It took everything that was kind of super slow and I don't think as fun about the first one, and just absolutely revamped it for the sequel. The villains are badass.
Nice.
So you're going back into it's a real big game that takes place on like your mental state. Because what it is, and it's kind of like the first one, you actually don't even have to play the first one to play this. You can jump into it, and there's just certain things that actually really call back. There wasn't really too much from the first one, except for what they called the STEM machine, which is, it's like this thing, it's almost like a bathtub, and it hooks up to your head, and it's all taking place inside of like this machine that connects everybody's brain. So they had this kind of simulated city that people were hooked up to, and they had programmers and stuff like that, and it was like a perfect town until all these monsters started coming around, because now it's being corrupted by people who are within the machine in a power struggle. One of them being like your wife is like a mutated monster that's in there, and it's you go through, you can get all kinds of different weapons. You can play the game stealthily, like instead of being like what the first one was. The first one I felt was like a lot more closed. This one, it's actually really open. We actually played the demo at that GameStop Expo where there's a chick with the chainsaw or the buzzsaw hands. The bosses are great. Yeah, the bosses are great. I love the story. Just wherever you're going, it's a lot of fun. And one of my actual favorite things about it is there's a monster that you can't fight, and you can just not do it at all because it's considered a side mission. Or if you actually go into it, if you want 100% the game, it's like this weird ghost thing, and it takes you into like a different kind of dimension within this already like world. And she'll just pop up in like random places, and you're actually trying to avoid it. She touches you, you're dead. Like, she instantly kills you.
You and your friends are dead.
So after you do the first part of the mission, later on when you're playing, you'll hear her start to hum, and then a lot of stuff disappears, and she'll show up in your real world. And so you're trying to run away from her outside of like just her small designated areas. And so that's something too that adds on top of like, oh fuck, like I'm fighting these monsters. This chick's fucking here, and I'm just trying to fucking run to get away from her. So I loved it.
Nice.
Highly recommend it to anybody.
I did want to say, I forgot to say it on the Costume Quest 2. There was an achievement for, there's a useless costume called
the candy corn?
Called the candy corn. And if you beat the game with one of your guys wearing it the whole time, you get an achievement for it. But essentially it's useless. And I remember doing that, and I thought, that's kind of funny. But yeah, that's your, 4 or 3?
That was my 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is a game, this is a shout out to Andrew, because he got me to play it. It was Castlevania Symphony of the Night, made by Konami, March 20th, 1997.
Love it.
Yeah, you can find it pretty much on a ton of systems. On PlayStation, Sega Saturn, PSP, 360, PS4, PlayStation Vita, Xbox One. So, this was one of the games to where, when you hear the term Metroidvania, this is what the Vania part is. So, I had like Simon's Quest, and I had Castlevania, but this was the first one I've actually gone back that was older and played and beat. It's a role-playing game, but it's a direct sequel of Castlevania Rondo. Is it Rondo Blood? Or
Rondo of Blood.
Yeah, Rondo of Blood. It takes place 4 years after that, where you're playing as Alucard, which is Dracula's son, who's exploring the castle after the famed hunter Richter Belmont has vanished. Now, what it stands apart from the anything that was prior to it was it's the first one to introduce the exploration, right? The Metroidvania part. It's a non-linear level design, and it added the RPG element. So initially, it wasn't received very well. But when like actual game critics and people started reviewing it, it's now regarded as one of the best games of all time. So
yeah, that's a game that's always on people's list. And I mean, it's not just for because the story's kind of scattered apart there. It's really about the castle and the things you do and all the separate rooms and stuff. The castle is really kind of the star of that game.
Yeah, when that castle flips upside down, because you can explore the maps. Yeah, you can go equip all these different weapons, you can fight all these different monsters, but yeah, when the castle flips upside down and the game actually kind of starts from there, and then you got
and that's if you don't ruin it and get the fake ending in the middle of the game.
Ending. So that game, I think it fits perfectly into that. It's I mean, obviously you're gonna go fight Dracula, so how much more Halloweeny can you get with that one? So definitely check it out, go play it. Excellent game.
Moving on to my next one, a game that I love to talk about all the time, and classic, of course, zombies. You can play any sort of Resident Evil for, October, just to get into that spooky time. But I will personally say Resident Evil 2 Remake, because that came out this year, and that is my favorite Resident Evil of all time. It plays amazing. You have Mr. X, who's pretty much stalking you throughout the entire building, and that adds just like a whole different sense of stress and urgency. Like, do I fight these things? One of the worst case scenarios that you come into is there's lickers. They are blind enemies that will try to attack you within the RPD, And you can walk past them because, of course, they're based on their sight. But then he starts coming down the hall. So you either have to shoot the fucking thing or try to run. If you run, then the licker's going to attack you because then it can hear you. Or you try and juke past this guy. Or if you shoot him, then it's going to hear you.
Brick shit house.
So it puts you into a lot of situations like that. And again, it just really takes what the original game was all about. And it really keeps that heart. You know, you start off on the streets of Raccoon City, you meet Claire or you meet Leon, depending on who you are. You make your way to the RPD and you're trying to escape through, you know, the hidden lab and all the little puzzles and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing game. 10 out of 10 for me. And so far this year, I would still say that is my game of the year.
Nice, with tons of replay value, right? With all the different...
yeah, there's all the different... there's different endings, different scenarios. You can do A, B, or B and A, and then you come at it from another side. I wish they had done a little bit more of the story for that, but I mean, I felt like there was enough story there, and if they're just trying to make a solid canon moving forward, then I was perfectly fine with it.
Nice. My number 2 goes into a game that I slept on for a while, and once I finally got to play it, fell in love with it, is Dying Light, developed by Techland, came out on January 2015. You can play that on PC, PS4, as well as the Xbox One. It's a survival horror action adventure game that focuses around this guy named Kyle Crane. He's like this undercover agent that's sent to infiltrate this quarantine zone in the city of Haran. Now, you can run around and get your missions and all that stuff, but the beauty is just the gameplay. So you can get, there's over 100 weapons to get, and then there's 100 weapons or plus that you can craft. But the beauty is the parkour system. So when you're running around, scaling buildings, drop kicking people, sliding around, you get a grappling hook that you can shoot up. It's awesome to play, and then scary as shit when the day to night cycle happens, because it's got kind of zombie-like characters and different classes of them. But when the nighttime comes, that's when like the stronger ones come out, the ones that just beat the shit out of you. Even if you watch the trailer, like you can it just gets crazy with how gnarly this game gets, because like if you have to go do like supply drops, you have to go collect certain things. If you do it at night, it's just 10 times harder. But one of the cool aspects that it did have was it gives you experience to kind of level up your character, but if you focus more on combat, it gives you power points. If you focus more on like parkour moves, it gives you agility points, and if you the more missions you complete and challenges you finish, it gives you survival points. But if you do most of that stuff at night, it upgrades you faster. So this game, I would say, I'm surprised you haven't played it yet.
I tried it and I couldn't really get into it.
You gotta give it
another go,
2 hours. You gotta give it another go.
I've been seeing it a lot, and I mean, with the sequel coming out too, I've been thinking that too myself. Like, as soon as I get a chance, I do want to give it another go. And I think maybe, I don't know if I just wasn't not so much understanding things.
Start it over here.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe if I just start it over here with someone who can maybe, if I'm getting mixed up with something, because I felt like I couldn't find. I don't remember what got me stuck.
There's a spot where I know in the beginning that you can go and get this, like, I don't know if it was a machete or something, but it fucked people up. So I remember how to get to it. So I'll show you how to get there, man. Because once you start getting, like, you can build traps in this game. You can set things on fire. You can, oh man, the game's awesome. So it would have been my number 1 if it wasn't for what my number 1 is. So that was my number 2. Are you on to your...
No, I would be on number 1. But before we get to these number 1s, we're going to throw up a couple honorable mentions that we kind of agreed upon that didn't quite make the list, but definitely are worth your time, for sure.
Yeah, so if you're looking for more games out of the 10 we're going to give you, check these out.
And so, my number 1 that I will go through, and a game that it goes on a little longer than it should, but amazing aesthetics aside, is Alien Isolation. It's one of my favorite horror games, a game that I slept on. I had actually almost gotten it, but I think at the time I was moving or something, I could only get one game, and I actually got Sunset Overdrive at the time, and I hated that game. And so I really wish I had gotten this instead. Absolutely loved it. You're playing as I think it's Amanda Ripley is her name, Ellen Ripley's daughter. It picks up she gets the beacon that Ellen had sent out from the end of the original Alien movie, and so you're looking for your mother. So you're actually going to this other ship, and again, there's an outbreak of an alien. So you're spending the whole time, it's crawling through vents. You can't, plus there's also looters, riders, there's other humans who are hostile towards you. So you have to decide, do you want to skulk past them and try to sneak by? Because if you get into a gunfight with them, the sounds are going to draw the alien in. So not only are you hiding from this thing, you're hiding from them at the same time. Or what you can do too is you can make all kinds of things. You can make like Molotov cocktails or little noise beacons to kind of draw the alien away. So sometimes I'll throw that towards the people to draw the alien in to attack the people. So that is also an option as well. If there's a lot of people and it's hard to sneak by, you could bring the alien to your area. That's another thing you have to worry about. But once it kills the people, now it's just you and the alien. So maybe that one-on-one scenario is a little bit easier for you. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can actually tackle this game, which is what I love. But the most beautiful thing about the game is graphics wise. It is absolutely beautiful. When you play it, it literally looks like everything is just from the movie. Even when you have the little radar thing that they use from the original movie, I forget what it's called, where it's all green and you just see like the little blips of where the alien is. That thing even kind of gets staticky. They went through absolutely everything. I think they even have like I would recommend it, a short little how they made the game.
That's cool.
And it shows how they recorded a lot of the gameplay and then tried to like download it and get it to where it could play on a VCR, and then they recorded it through a VCR, and that's how they got that old-timey aesthetics.
That's cool.
And so like a lot of this stuff is from the original movie. So it's an absolutely amazing game, and it keeps you on edge the whole time. It's definitely an anxiety-inducing game, trying to dodge that thing.
I know, it's on my to-do list. It's on my, Andrew keeps telling me, play that game next. Like, every time I ask Andrew what I should play next, that's always the first thing he says, is play it in isolation.
Yeah, amazing story.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
The only negative I had about it was I think it's like a 15 to 17 hour game, whereas I felt like it probably could have been like a 12-hour game.
Oh, okay.
But, that's the one complaint I have about that game.
Nice. My number one game is one of my favorite games of all time, which is BioShock. And that is a game done by 2K and Irrational Games. It came out on August 21st, 2007. You can play it on the PC, PS3, and PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. There are remastered collections of this game out. If anyone was ever familiar with System Shock, they call it a spiritual successor of that game, but it is this first-person shooter with these like RPG elements. You get shotguns, you get pistols, you get rifles, but you get superpowers essentially, and that's what I loved about this game, is you can tackle it in one of two ways. You can stick to guns and you can do things like that, or you can use these powers. So I'm not going to get too much into what the storyline is with this, because it's got a really deep like philosophical, like moral and like political narrative in this game. So that's up for you to go check out, because there's tons of lore in this game, which is something I really, really liked.
I will say it is something that I beat. I beat it like forever ago, so I don't really remember that much about it. But I do remember it being like scary with the corridors and then some of the enemies too. Because isn't there one that's got like cutters for hands or something like that?
Dude, there's all kinds of gnarly shit in that game. I will just give you the bottom line of it. It is this city called Rapture that takes place underwater. So it was created by Andrew Ryan to be this utopia that's away from politics and government and stuff. So what it based around was that they found Adam, which are by these undersea water sea slugs, that essentially to harvest more, they attached them onto little girls, or in little girls' stomachs. And these little girls were then called little sisters, and they took these humans that were mentally conditioned and mutated and stuck them in these armor-plated diving suits and called them Big Daddies. So when you watch the trailer or eventually play the game, that is one of the most terrifying fights
I remember the first time
I've ever
into one
been
of
in.
those.
Yeah, he was actually on my list for top 5 villains, is the Big Daddy in general. And it's scary, because especially with like how dark the game is and how creepy it is, and like it's got some really nice background music. When you start seeing slicers running around, that's scary enough. But when a fucking Big Daddy comes around the corner and you fuck with one of the little sisters, it's a nerve-wracking boss fight to try to stay alive. So that is my number one. So Andrew, let's go back down the 5 list. Mine from 5 to 1 goes Monster in My Pocket. It goes Costume Quest 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Dying Light, and BioShock.
And then I had Luigi's Mansion, Dead Space 2, Evil Within 2, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then Alien Isolation to finish it out.
So guys, that is 10 games that if you are trying to get into Halloween, the October mood, grab yourself a Santan Oktoberfest, check some of these games out, check out the honorable mentions, and make sure you leave your list of games that we should check out in the comments below. So guys, that is the end of the tops for this episode. My name is Craig Perales. That is Mandrew Montemayor, and until next time, guys.
Happy
cheers.
Halloween.